Okay, because we want to know how to go about doubling our pattern when we've worked with the smaller size to kind of get our general shape and everything, I'm going to show you how to go about doubling a pattern if you want it larger. Now, these are my notes and what I did. And as you can see, I screwed up on my first choice on the head and had to redo it, which is on the back. Now, it says here that I've done the head and I did it circularly with a drawstring cast on in light blue. We want to stick with that, and we're going to be doing all the pegs like we did on the smaller ones. We're just going to double it. So go ahead and you'd want to write in with the head or type in, either way. I usually type it because I'm trying to show it'll be easier to do this way. So we're going from 15 pegs to 29, which is basically a pretty even double. We'll have to take away one peg somewhere in there to completely double it. So we're going to do 29, drawstring, cast on, and we're going to start in light blue. Okay, on here it says our first row was a knit, and we want to do that. We want to stick with that. And while you might would think to double it, we're not going to do 2 rows. We're just going to do 1 row here. So we're going to type or write in 1. You can put in row, but I'm just going to put a number right here because this is just for me. And I'm going to put knit right beside it. Okay, then we have row 2 through 3. And that's 2 rows right there. So we want to double it. So if it's 2 rows, we'll add another 2 rows, which makes 4. We should have doubled this one, so we're going to add this in and make it 5. So we're going to do what I call the half and half, which is where I have knitted 7 in the light blue and changed the color and knitted 8 in the purple. And so what you want to do, because we kept with that 1 row there, instead we didn't double it, we're going to need to add it onto here. So this is going to be 5 rows rather than 4. So the best way to do that is to put in 2. So count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 through 6. Now, because we're doubling it, it's not going to be uneven. So what I've done is divide it in half the best way I can and put the larger half in the purple. So as you can see, the purple's 8 and the light blue is 7. So the easiest way to do that, if it's divided in half like that, if you see that and you know that, what you can do is you can take the 29 and you can divide it in half, and then you take the smaller section and put it with the light blue, and then the larger section and put it with the purple. That's basically going to be 14, and the other half is going to be, so you're doing 14, and then you're going to change your color, and you're going to knit. And basically, I'm going to E-wrap, but I'm just putting it in as knit because it's a little shorthand to know what I'm doing. But this is showing you how to increase. So it divides into 14, which means we're going to need to do 15 as our extra. And they should add up to 29. And it does. It adds up to 29. So 14 in light blue, 15 in the purple. Okay, now that we're there, we're to row 4, which is going to be row 7 over here. And I have it as a single row. And what it is it's the purled row that allows it to change direction dramatically. And that's actually a technique. To do a single purled row, we'll change it to lift it up. So we only want to do one row of a purled row. We don't need to double this. We only do it once. So what we're going to do is row 7, and light blue, we're going to purl the 14 and change the color to purple and purl the 15. We only want to do one row. Okay, now row 5 and 6 is just in purple, and it's just straight out E-wrap or a knit, either way. So we want to double that. That's 2 rows, so it's going to be 4 rows. So we're going to go 8, 9, 10, 11. And trust me, it's easiest to do that because sometimes it's kind of like counting the hours, how many hours you've worked. Okay, so you have 8 through 11 is going to be a straight up knit or E-wrap because you've doubled it there. Now we're to a section that you're going to have to double the amount on each section. And this is where you can get confused, but it's really not as hard as you think. So we're going to do our row 12. And what this is I have it knitting 1 first. So in the purple. So I'm going to put P down and I'm going to knit 2 because we're doubling everything pretty much. Now, the next thing on my list is to change the color to light blue and knit 2. Well, we're going to change the color to light blue and knit 4. I'm going to put LB, knit 4. Then it says to change the color to purple and knit 1. Well, we're going to change the color to purple and knit 2. So we'll go purple, knit 2. And then we see we're changing to the navy color, and we're going to see knit 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to put navy and we're going to knit 4 because we're doubling it. Now we're going to do it in reverse because these are our eye sections. So you just go in and reverse it. So purple, knit 2, and light blue, knit 4. Okay, now we're to the very last one, and this is where it can change up because you're not going to have an exact double of 30. And it says to knit 6 at the end. So we don't want to knit 6. We'll double it but subtract 1. So it would be 12, but we're going to do 11. So we are, where are we at? We're going to change color to purple, and we're going to knit 11 rather than 12. So that's how you do a row like that. Now the next row, which I wrote like a continuance, but because of the way the color changes, I'm going to have to go in and reverse. So row 13 should be a reversal of the row you just did because you're going to want to do 2 of that row and then 2 of the next row and 2 of the next row. The nose is where it will become a challenge, and I'll go through kind of how to do that. So go ahead and write out row 12 backwards for row 13, and that'll give you the repeat of that row. Now what you want to do is go to your row 14, and here I have it changing up and being my center. And so I'm going to do this as my center, and I'm just going to repeat row 9 because row 8 here is what gives you the nice little subtle bulge in the nose. And so we want to keep it even. We don't want to do a 6 row, we wanted to do a 5 row between the eye area and the nose area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with, because I worked smaller scale, I want to stick with what I have, and that's with the actual in the purple to knit 2, and then go to the light blue and knit 4 because we're still doing our eye area, and then go to purple and knit 2. And here's where it changes up. We're going to knit the 4 for our navy, and I have 3 rows here. We want to keep it as an odd row. Keep it as an odd row. So your next odd row up would be 5. So you're going to do 5 rows rather than 3 on your nose. And you might want to parentheses that to know that that's your nose and that you're doing short rows there. So your short rows are going to be in here to do your nose. Then you're going to finish it like you did with the knit 2 and the purple, light blue, knit 4, and write it out that way if you generally know what you're doing. So, okay, now we're going to want to start that kind of gradients up with the eyes and do 2 more rows, and I will show you how to go about that. So what you want to do for row 15, because it's going to be in a reverse, you're going to be in purple and you're going to knit the 11, but when you change to light blue, you're only going to knit 3. You're going to take one of those light blue sections out because you're going to do that nice gradients to do a curve on that upper eye. So you're going to just take one out, and you want to do it in the inner section, so you want to do it this way. As you can see where how it goes up and over. That changes that up and adds 1 to the purple. So you'll knit 3 rather than 2 because you've just added 1 to that. And then you change to navy and then knit 4 again. And then purple, knit 3, and then you remember you reduce your light blue and knit 3, and then purple, knit 2. Okay, then row 16, you want to remove another one from your eye here. So what you want to do is you want to go back to the end here, because it's going to be basically a flat knit, is purple with a knit 2. Then you're going to change to light blue and remove another color and do knit 2. And then remember, you've taken away from the light blue, so you have to add to the inner side of the purple, and that's going to be knit 4. And then you're going to change to navy and knit 4, purple, knit 4, light blue, knit 2, and purple, knit 11. And that's the end of the eye section, and that's how we were able to adjust it using these. Once you get your basic gauge as to where things are and you want a subtle decrease, which would be more challenging looking at this, but if you have a general idea of how you did it and want to do a slight change in color that way, you see how I've basically gone in to do it. At this point, I have what looks like 4 rows of just straight knit in purple. So 4 or 3 rows. 11, 12, 13. Okay, 4 rows. So basically 4 rows. So we're wanting to do 8 rows of straight knit. And so that's going to be row 17. And as I said, as you can see, it's row 10 through 13, and you want to think 3, but it's actually 4 because you do 10, 11, 12, 13. That's the reason why I count them up like that, to make sure, because it's not as simple as just, add it. So what you want to do is 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And then you want to knit that, and then you want to do a drawstring cast off, just like you did originally on that one. And so that's a translation and doubling the head that I had written down originally to the 29 peg loom. Now I won't go through the whole thing just as a guide, but I will go through one more. And I'll go through, for instance, we'll do the leg, because that's pretty simple. And so it's a drawstring cast on, and it's flat, and it's going to be starting off in the purple, and I have 10 pegs there. So if I did 10 pegs there, I'm going to double it, and it's going to be 20 pegs on the loom. So I need to keep in mind that for the legs, it's going to be flat, and it's going to be 20 pegs with a drawstring cast on. I'm going to start off in purple. Now I have row 1 and 2 as knit, so double it. So it's going to be rows 1 through 4. 1 through 4 is going to be a straight out knit. Then I have row 3 as a purl. We're not going to double it because it's going to change directions. As you can see right here, we're just changing directions so that it folds back. So we're going to just do 1 row purl. Next thing we see is we have 2 more rows of a straight knit, which we're going to translate into 4 rows. So 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's going to be knit. And then we have a row 6 is where we start to decrease so that it has that indentation. As you can see, it gets narrower. And so we want to do an indentation. And here I have it decreased only once. We're going to decrease it twice. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna decrease it twice. So for row 10, we will do the decrease on one end and knit 1. Then you can't exactly double it here and it work, because this doesn't add up to 20. So, but you are decreasing 1 on each end, and that's the way to keep in mind, is you're decreasing on each end and then calculating how many you have. So for instance, this is taking up 2 pegs on the ends, which is a total of 4, and just minus 4 from 20. So this actually should be 16, I think. 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah. So instead of this 12, there should be a 16 in here. And you might want to make a notation that this takes it down to 18. And that means that the next row down should count up to 18. So there's 4, and then you want 14. which you'll notice just drops it by 2 in that middle one, which is the best thing to keep in mind if you're doing a decrease, which should take you down to 16. Okay, now that we've done that decrease once on each end, the next thing we want to do is look at what we've got, and then it looks like we're doing the actual rest of the leg. And so that's 3 rows there, and we're going to double it to 6. So we're going to go 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And I know that doesn't sound like it works, but that's what it is. And you knit those, and then you cast off. And that's how you double a leg. So keep in mind when you're decreasing, it's going to kind of add up a little differently. You can't just double what's in here. You have to calculate on your decrease on each end and then what's in the middle. So that's how that works a little differently, but not much differently. So that's basically how you go in and you double everything that you have in a pattern. That's how you go about it, showing what you have written and then what you do to translate it into a larger loom that's pretty much double. So that's kind of how you go about that. I did the hardest part, which was the head, and then I showed you the legs, which had a decrease in it, so that gave you another little bit of an idea of how to go about that. The only thing that can maybe stump you is if you have short rows showing up. Oh, I showed that in the head, the short rows, because it had 3 short rows. Where is it? Had 3 short rows. I doubled it to 5 short rows. So that's how you do the short rows and double it. So as you can see, that's how you go about doubling a pattern. At this point, you will want to go to part 4 to actually see the tutorial on how to make this little guy into the medium size, larger stuffed animal.